Welcome back. We are going to learn today to add and subtract fractions that have different denominators. In our last lesson, we learned how to add and subtract fractions when the denominators were the same. Now that they are different, we are calling those unlike fractions, and we're going to learn how to go ahead and find common denominators so that we can add and subtract the fractions. Earlier in the year, we learned how to find least common multiples of 2 or 3 numbers, and we are going to go ahead and use that technique that we learned earlier in the year to help us solve and add and subtract fractions. And we need to learn to add and subtract fractions because sometimes we will have fractions in our equations when we're solving equations in algebra. So here we go. Our first problem is 1/4 plus a negative 2/3, and we want to go ahead and add or subtract those. And what we need to do to be able to do this, since these denominators are different, is we need to find the least common denominator, which is the same as finding the least common multiple between the numbers 4 and 3. Well, the least common denominator, or least common multiple, turns out to be 12. And just as a reminder to you, the way that we find that is we go ahead and take 3, which is a prime number, so 3 is just itself. 4 is the same as 2 times 2, so that one's equal to 2 squared. So we want one of each factor, so our least common multiple then would be 3 times 2 squared. We want the highest exponent, right? So that's 3 times 4, which is 12. So this will be our denominator right here, is 12. So that was just kind of a quick reminder of how we do that. So next we're going to go ahead, now that we know we need to make each of those denominators 12, what do we have to multiply each fraction by to get 12? Well, the 1/4, we need to multiply 4 by 3 to get 12. And so 3 over 3 is the same as 1, so we're not changing the value of this fraction 1/4 by multiplying it by 1. We're just finding an equivalent fraction. So we will have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the same number so that we're not changing the value of the fraction. 2/3, the negative 2/3, we have to multiply the 3 by 4 to get 12, so we're going to multiply the top by 4 as well. And again, notice 4 over 4, that fraction is the same as 1. So we're not changing the value, just finding an equivalent fraction. So now let's go ahead and change both of those fractions to 12ths by multiplying them, which we learned in a previous lesson. So we get 3/12ths, and we're adding to that negative 8/12ths. Okay, now I normally put the negative sign with the numerator, okay, so that's the way we're going to handle these. So 3 plus a negative 8 gives us negative 5. So our answer on this one then is negative 5/12ths. Here's another one to try. The first thing we need to do here again is to find the least common denominator, and 63 and 99 are our two numbers. So 63, in order to find the least common denominator, we need to break that down. You will recognize that as 9 times 7. And 9 is really 3 times 3. And then 99 is really 9 times 11. You might recognize it that way, 9 times 11. And 9 is broken down into prime factors of 3 and 3. So remember, we're breaking all of these down into their prime factorizations. So the least common denominator, we need 2 3's, right, from both factors. We need a 7 and we need an 11. So if we multiply all those numbers together, we get 693. That's going to be our common denominator. So let's go ahead and figure out for 63, in order to change it to 693, what factors are we missing? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. We're missing the factors of, so we have 2 3's and a 7. We're missing the 11 for 63. And then for the 99, we have 2 3's and an 11. So we're missing the 7. Okay. So let's go ahead and proceed and change our denominators to 693. So our first fraction, negative 8 over 63, is just rewritten in black. But we need to multiply. Remember I said we're missing the 11 up here. This one's missing the factor 11. So we're going to multiply by 11 over 11. The 99 is missing the 7 in its factor. That's in blue. So we're going to multiply that one by 7 over 7. So let's go ahead and multiply the numerators. Negative 8 times 11 will give us negative 88. And 7 times 7 will give us 49. So now we have common denominators. Now we can put them together in one fraction where we'll have negative 88 plus 49 all over 693. 88 is bigger than 49, the number itself. So our answer will have the same sign as the 88, so it's going to be a negative answer, and negative 88 plus 49 is negative 39. But now negative 39 shares a factor with 693. Remember, here are all of our factors right here of 693, and 39 is divisible by one of those factors, by 3. So to put this in simplest form, remember our directions always tell us to put it in simplest form, we need to go ahead and divide both of those top and bottom numbers. Whoops, grabbed the wrong thing there, sorry about that. We need to divide both of those by 3. Divide 3. It's not a very pretty 3, sorry about that. And then we need to divide this one by 3 as well. When we do that, we get our negative 13 over 231. Here are 3 for you to try on your own. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can come up with the least common denominators and then add or subtract each of those fractions. And we'll go through this together when you get back. All right, hope you gave those a try. In letter A here, the first one, let's go ahead and work through that one together. When we look at these denominators, we have the denominator of 6 and a denominator of 2. Well, 2 is prime, but 6 can be broken down into a prime factorization of 2 times 3. So 2 is already contained in there, so we also need a 3. So 6 is actually going to be our least common denominator. So I'll go ahead and write that. Our least common denominator is equal to 6. So we don't even need to change this first fraction. We can leave that one alone. But the negative 1/2, we're going to have to multiply by something to make that into a 6, right? So let me go ahead and rewrite this. So we have negative 5/6. We're going to leave that one alone. Plus, and I'm going to have a negative 1/2. And let's see, negative 1/2. So I've just rewritten the problem. But what do I need to multiply 2 by to get it to be a 6? Well, I need to multiply that by a 3, right? So if I multiply the bottom by 3, I need to multiply the top by 3. So my new fraction becomes, I'm going to rewrite the first one, negative 5/6 plus, now 1 times 3 is 3, and I'm going to put my negative with the 3 on the top, negative 3. The bottom number now, 2 times 3 is 6. So now we have like denominators, right? I should be putting equal signs, I guess, out here. So in my next step, my denominator is 6, and I just add my numerators together. I have negative 5, be real careful with your signs, plus a negative 3. Now I know some of you may still be struggling with your signed numbers, adding and subtracting your signed numbers. So be careful of that. These are the same sign, so we add those together and we get negative 8 over 6. But that can be reduced. That's not in simplest form. How many times does 6 go into 8? It's going to be a negative number. 6 goes into 8 once. How many 6 are left? If we take away 6 of those, there are 2 left. And we can still reduce that. So we get negative 1 1/3. Okay? So that's kind of how that process goes. Let's take a look at the next one. Letter B. I suppose I should show you my answers over here. I've put these answers in here so we could double check those. Negative 1 1/3. Letter B, if we want to go ahead and do that one together, we should get 1/14 and 3/49. 49ths. 14 is 2 times 7, right? So we have a factor of 2 and a factor of 7. 49 is 7 times 7. So we need a 2, we need a 7, and we need a second 7. So what number does that turn out to be? Well, that's 49 times 2, and let's see, I think that's 98, right? So 98 will be our common denominator. That's our LCD, least common denominator, right? So what do we have to multiply the first fraction by to get it to be a 98? We need a 2, a 7, and a 7. Well, we're missing a 7, so we're going to multiply this one by 7 over 7, right? What are we going to multiply the 49 by? Well, we're missing the 2 there, so we're going to multiply this one by 2 over 2, right? So when I go ahead and multiply those then, let me go ahead and erase some of this so it doesn't get in our way too much here. I'm just going to take out some of this blue stuff. So in our fraction then, 7 times 1 is 7. What is 14 times 7? Well, 7 times 10 is 70. 7 times 4 is 28. We said that was going to be 98 is our least common denominator. And we're going to have a plus sign. And the second denominator will be the same thing by design, right? That's our least common denominator. This time we have 3 times 2, which is 6. And that gives us 13 over 98. And 13 is a prime number, and that was not one of the factors of 98, so we know we're already in simplified form. And let's see if that's what we got. There we go. 13 over 98 is our answer. All right, let's take a look at letter C. Move this one up here. Letter C this time, we have a 16 and a 10. Well, 16 is really, let's just do 4 times 4. You could do 8 times 2, it doesn't matter. And each of our 4's breaks down again into 2 2's, so we have 2 times 2, and this 4 gives us another 2 times 2, so we really have a set of 4 2's, right? 2 to the 4th power. 10 is 5 times 2. 5 is prime, 2 is prime. So what will our least common denominator be? LCD is going to be, well, we need at least 2 to the 4th power, right? So that's going to be 2 to the 4th power, and we need a 5. Okay, for our least common denominator. Well, what are we missing in the first fraction? We have 2 to the 4th, but we're missing the 5. So we're going to multiply this one by 5 over 5. And what are we missing in the second fraction? This one has the 5 and it has one of the 2's, right? But we need 4 2's. So this one we're missing 3 2's, so it's 2 times 2 times 2. So we're missing 8, so we're going to multiply by 8 over 8. Okay? So what is 2 to the 4th power times 5? What does that equal to? Well, this is really 16 times 5, which is 80 if you do that on your calculator. So our least common denominators will be 80. So let's go ahead and do the math then. Let me get some of this out of the way. And our least common denominator is 80. So let's go ahead and see what we get here. So 5 times 5 gives us a 25 over 80. And that one is positive. And whoops, excuse me, that's negative. So let's put our negative in there. And then we have a plus sign. And the next one's going to be over 80 as well. But this time we have 3 times 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Now our signs are the opposite, right? Our denominator stays the same. Negative 25 plus 24 is a negative 1, and that is in reduced form. So that should be our answer for letter C. And in fact it is, so we did okay. All right, we also need to learn to add and subtract mixed numbers. The process is exactly the same as any other unlike fractions with one extra step. And that extra step is we need to first write each of those fractions or those mixed numbers as improper fractions. So you remember the process to do that. We multiply the whole number in the denominator and then add the numerator. So in this one, we have 6 times 9, which is 54. Add 2 is 56. So we'll have negative 56 over 9. And then in the second fraction, we have 4 times 6 is 24, plus 5 is 29 over 6. So the denominators stay the same. We just need to find that numerator. Well, now the process is the same as what we did in the last 2 slides. We need to find our least common denominator. So for 9, okay, if we have the number 9, we know that's really 3 times 3. And then for 6, we know 6 is really 2 times 3. So our least common denominator will be a 2 times 3 times 3. So we have a 2, a 3, and we need 2 3's, right? So that's really 18. And that's not a negative there, that's supposed to be an equal sign. So our least common denominator is 18. So what am I missing in the second fraction? I need to multiply the top and bottom by what number to get 18? Well, it's 6 times 3, so that should be a 3. And in this one, we're going to multiply by 2 over 2, okay? 2 over 2. So when we do that, multiplying negative 56 times 2 gives us negative 112. 29 times 3 is 87. Okay, and now we have our common denominators. So now we're going to write it as a single fraction, negative 112 plus 87, all over 18. And we'll get a negative number because 112 is bigger. So when we subtract those numbers, since they have opposite signs, we end up with negative 25 over 18. But this is not in simplified form. Now we have to put it back as a mixed number. So 18 goes into 25 once. And don't forget your negative out there. Your denominator stays the same, and there are 7 left over to get us to the 25. Okay, so we took out 18 of them, and then there were 7 left. Here are 4 more problems for you to try. Go ahead and pause the video, and we'll go through these when you get back. All right, let's take a look at how you did. First of all, we need to find our least common denominators, right? So this one's not a mixed number. So this is just like in the first couple of slides. 12 is really 4 times 3. And 4 is really 2 times 2, right? So this one gives us a 2 times a 2 times a 3. 8 is really 4 times 2, which is 2 times 2 times 2. So it's 2 to the third power. So our least common denominator is going to be, we need 3 2's, right? And then we also need a 3. So what number is that equal to? Well, that's a 6 times 4. It looks like 24. Okay, so our least common denominator will be 24. So what do we need to multiply 12 by to get 24? Well, we have to multiply it by 2, right? So the top also gets multiplied by 2. How about the 8? 8 times what gives us 24? Well, 8 times 3 gives us 24. So there's what we need to multiply by. Let's go ahead and erase some of this and get it out of our way so we have room to work. So go ahead and multiply your numerators together. And if we multiply the numerators, we get negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Our denominator is now 24. And we're adding to that negative 3 24ths. So how many 24ths do we get? What is negative 10 plus negative 3? Well, that's negative 13. All right, let's go ahead and take a look if that's what we were supposed to get under letter D, and in fact it is. Letter E, let's take a look at that one. Okay, so this one, first we have to change both of these to mixed numbers, right? So our denominators stay the same, okay? This one's going to be a negative, and we're going to add to that, and this will be in thirds still. So go ahead and copy down your denominators. Then we just have to figure out what the top number is. 3 times 2 is 6, add 1 is 7. This one gives us 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25. And now we just need to figure out what is our least common denominator. Well, our least common denominator, let me work over here. Least common denominator, these are both prime numbers, so it's going to be 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay, so on the left side here, we're going to multiply this one by 3 over 3. And on the right side, we're going to multiply this one by 2 over 2. So we get something over 6 plus something over 6, right? It's our common denominator. This one is negative. Negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. 25 times 2 is 50. So when we add those together, what do we get? What is 50 minus 21? Well, that should give us, I think that's a 29, it looks like, and 50 is bigger, so it's positive. But this is not in reduced form. Now we have to change this to a mixed number again. How many times does 6 go into 29? Well, 6 times 5 is 30, so not quite 5. So it looks like we're going to have 4 times. 6 times 4 is 24, right? So 29 minus 24 gives us 5 left. So it's 4 and 5/6. All right, let's take a look at letter F. And get this one out of the way here. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just erase this. Here is letter E. Our answer was 4 5/6. There's letter D. Letter F now. This one again, changed your mixed numbers into improper fractions. Sorry about that. So an improper fraction on this one, we are going to have fourths, right, on the left side, and we're going to have thirds on the right side, and we are subtracting. So what's our numerator? 4 times 2 is 8 plus 3 is 11. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 1 is 19. So now we need to figure out what is our least common denominator. Well, we're going to end up having 4 is really 2 times 2, right? And 3 is prime, so we need all of those. So we're going to have 4 times 3, which is 12. That will be our least common denominator. So what do we multiply the first one by? 11 fourths, we need to multiply by 3 over 3 to get a 12. To get a 12 over here, we're multiplying by 4. And so let me go ahead and clean this up so we have room to work. And there we go. So in our numerator, 3 times 11 is 33. Denominator should be 12. Subtract from that. What is 19 times 4? Let me get my denominator in here first. 19 times 4, well, we get 4 times 10 is 40. 9 times 4 is 36. So 40 plus 36 is 76. If I did my math right. So now we're going to have 33 minus 76 all over 12. And what is that equal to? Well, if we subtract 76 and 33, it looks like we get 43 over 12. But that's negative because the 76 is the bigger number, right? So how many times does 12 go into 43? So we're going to have twelfths as our denominator, but we need to change this now to a mixed number again. So it doesn't quite go 4 times, so we're going to have 3 times, and that gives us 36 of those. So we have to subtract 36 twelfths away from that. So it looks like we have 7 left. So we have negative 3 and 7 twelfths is our answer. And let's see how we did on that one. Letter F, negative 3 and 7 twelfths. So we did great. So let's bring that one up here. And last one. All right, so go ahead and write this one as an improper fraction. So we'll have fifths, and it's going to be negative, right? And we're going to add to that some thirds, and they are also negative. So what do we need to do? We need to figure out our numerator. 1 times 5 is 5, plus 2 is 7. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So what's our common denominator going to be? Well, our common denominator is going to be 15. Hopefully you can see that on this one. If not, ask me in class. Trying to pick up the pace so the video is not too long here. Both of these will be negative. What do I need to multiply 5 by? I need to multiply it by 3, so I need to multiply the top by 3, and that gives me 21. On the right-hand side, I need to multiply both top and bottom by 5, and so that gives me negative 50. And now the signs are the same, so we are going to add the numerators, negative 21 plus a negative 50. So what does that give us? Negative 21 and negative 50 is negative 71 over 15. And so now we need to change that back to a mixed number. How many times does 15 go into 71? And I'm going to go ahead and use my calculator on this so I don't make any math errors for you. So 71 divided by 15, if you punch that in on your calculator, you get 4.73 repeating. So we know it goes 4 times. Well, what is 4 times 15? That's 60. And so there's 11 left. So that should be a negative 4 and 11/15. Hopefully we got the right answer here. Negative 4 and 11/15. Look at that. So there you have it. Now you know how to add and subtract fractions that are unlike, that have different denominators. So here is your task. Bring these to class tomorrow. This will be a 10-point quiz for you, and I'll see you next time.